I think that the relationship between the Indigenous rights movement, whether that's wage justice, civil rights, land rights, and the trade union movement is really just this beautiful tapestry. They're inherently intertwined.
About 100 Aborigines had gathered 11 kilometres from the Nookambah homestead to make one last protest as the convoy of trucks carrying drilling equipment moved on to the station. The news of the decision by drilling workers not to operate the rig for the time being was announced to the Aborigines by the community's press liaison officer, Mr. Stephen Hawke. It was received ecstatically. The news came only moments before the rig roared past the protesters. The news of the union action broke the sombre mood.
The convoy to Nookambah faced many protesters. The strongest and most moving of the protests were mounted by the Aborigines themselves.
It's always been First Nations people on the front foot, and the trade union movement showing solidarity to those either disputes around wages or those big tectonic shifts that we've seen in society around civil and industrial rights for First Nations people. Kamanjunja is one of those really key disputes that we were at a time in Australia, particularly when you're talking about people who have been put onto missions and reservations and were forced into work and forced into labour. The powder keg was just full. It was just full, and then there were just sparks of disputes that happened and then gradually affected that kind of rolling stone of disputes across the country. You know, some of those really early Victorian disputes came before Wave Hill.
Aboriginal stockmen are on strike. They walked off the job over a month ago. Their wives, children and relatives went with them. The NAWU is the main driving force behind the strikers.
The saga began in 1966. Gurindji stockmen who'd been paid in salt beef, bread and tobacco and $6 a week if they were lucky, went on strike. They walked off Wave Hill Station and camped in the dry bed of the Victoria River.
And I said, well, what was before the bestie born and I born? I said, that was a blackfella country.
Aboriginal people have always fought about the next generation, and yet we are still fighting for our existence as First Australians.
Organisers of the protests say around 90 communities rallied across the country and the world.
It was a success story, the Stop the Forced Closures campaign. Trade unions across the country marched on the street, wrote to the government. We ran a resolution through the ACTU executive, signing on for national solidarity for the campaign. That, combined with all the other things that trade unions were involved with, can show those who are powerful that these communities in Western Australia, the WA government thought no one cared about, that there were powerful people who were behind them. It's our generation who now carries that torch and legacy. I think it's really important, particularly for young activists, to understand the role of the trade union movement in the fights for civil and industrial rights for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and workers, and that when you join the trade union movement, that becomes part of your story and you become part of that legacy of solidarity